welcome. Today, my guest is Charmaine, who has been experiencing paranormal activity and having paranormal experiences for quite some time. Anyway, Charmaine, thank you for joining me. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, thanks, Rich. It's 9 o'clock over here in the morning, so I'm on the other side of the world in New Zealand. So hopefully you can all understand my accent okay. I'm a psychic medium and I do a lot of healing work. And what led me to this was actually a lot of paranormal experiences. And one of the main ones was ghosts. So people call me the ghost lady, the ghost whisperer, and all sorts of names like that because I earned it. So what I wanted to talk to you today about was about ghosts, because a lot of people, there's a lot of fear around ghosts. Let's face it, who's not scared of ghosts, right? It's quite a scary thing to have an invisible thing around you or near you, and you're like, can they hurt me? So I'd like to explain a little bit about that and about what has happened to me personally. So I'll start with a little story that really kicked things off for me. Keeping in mind when I was younger, I did have some paranormal experiences. I used to astral travel sometimes. I clearly remember going into my brother's room because we used to hang out and seeing odd things and just knowing things. But it really kicked in my 20s, and I had quite a profound experience when a girl moved into one of the flats that I was living in. And all of a sudden, what happened was in the middle of the night, my bed started shaking. Scary stuff, right? So you've got this boom, 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 boom. I'm being woken up to my bed shaking. We're in an earthquake-prone country. So I'm thinking, well, where's the earthquake? Get back into bed. And then a few hours later, boom, 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 more shaking. And following night, the same thing. I was also getting crawling sensations all over my body. And I was noticing that I could really feel someone close up to my face. And those of you who are sensitive to spirit or energies, you'll know what I'm talking about. You know when there's eyes coming up really close. And I could feel in my body a really strong emotion of that being that was appearing to be there. And it was as if the being was saying, help, 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 and really intensely up to my face. So this went on, and 2 o'clock in the morning, I just had a huge feeling to go and knock on my flatmate's door, the one who had moved in. 2 o'clock in the morning, crazy, right? She opens the door. Hello, and I says, hey, man, my bed's shaking, and I just have a feeling to come and talk to you. And she was like, oh, yeah, happens in my town up north all the time. Come on, come in. And so we would have a chat. We'd go outside, play the guitars. I was smoking in those days, so we'd have a few cigarettes. And she's told me that this happens to her a lot. So basically, after about 3 weeks or a month, I couldn't take it anymore because I wasn't getting any sleep and it was not good for my health. So I contacted my sister's teacher. My sister is also did psychic training as well. It runs in the family. We're all freaks. I've got cousins who can see spirit. It goes on from there. And yeah, so I rang the teacher for help, and she says, oh, it is really full on. There is a lot of emotion here, but it's a family thing. And in our country, we have a mixture of Maori, Pākehā, Chinese, Indian, many different cultures. And she says it's within the Maori culture. And so we tend to sort of spiritually sometimes leave those spiritual things to Maori families if it's a personal Maori thing to clear up. And this is what she said. So yeah, it was interesting. One night when the paranormal experiences were happening, I saw come through the wall. It sounds crazy, but it's what happens when you can see things. I saw come through the wall a girl who just looked weird, and all her hair was like crazy and standing on end, and her skin was just all the wrong color. And I was like, oh, that's really weird. That person looks really strange. And then I talked to my flatmate in the morning. I says, hey, look, I saw this girl come through my wall. And she says, oh, my relative died. She was climbing a electric what do you call it, a power pole one night, drunk, you know, and doing stupid things, and she got electrocuted and she actually died. And so that wasn't the actual ghost that was shaking my bed. That was a family member helping. So what happened, and I'm going to get to what happened and why this was happening. I had to leave my flat because it was too difficult for me to stay there. I'd lost so much weight, I couldn't sleep. I left the flat, but I knew that I had to train because this was getting serious, because I kept coming across these events that were really affecting my life. So it was like it chose me. It was like, right, Charmaine, you're in. You've got to deal with this. And there was no instruction booklet, and so I had to learn. So before I learnt, I bumped into her on the bus a little bit later, about a year or so later. And I says, hey, did you ever get to the bottom of the bed shaking? And one stage we had a picture fly off the wall as well. It actually lifted up off the hook and flew in my bedroom and hit the floor. I said, did you ever get down to the bottom of this? She says, yes, Charmaine, I did. She says, it was a family member of mine. And this is sad, and this is what I want to get to. She was a young girl, 15, 16, and she had taken her life. And her family was completely stunned. They did not have any idea of how come this young girl took her life. There was no warning signs, there was no indications, and they were just left stunned. Their girl had gone and they just did not know what to do. And the spirit of the girl knew that the family needed to understand. And my flatmate was the only person who knew where the diary of the girl who had died was, where she had kept it, hidden somewhere. So in the diary was a really clear description of how her boyfriend had been really cruel to her and really dragged her down over a period of time. And this girl's mental health really declined. And she felt so terrible at one stage, she took her life. And so she needed her parents to understand why that had happened. So yeah, that was like a pivotal ghost experience where I think compassion is probably the right word for that. And that I wanted to get across to people with most ghosts is that they're not really to be afraid of. That often they just need help. Yeah, or they're cruising around in some kind of limbo land. And I'll talk about that as well. Yeah, so a bit later on, I chose to train in an Indigenous group setting. So it was a nature-based type group where we learned for years, which was really, really helpful. And then later on, I trained, did further training because I found out I could talk to people who have passed over as well, and really enjoyed that. So I went, hey, this is great, love this, and did more training with Lisa Williams. So yeah, that was one of my big experiences. I guess in terms of ghosts and explaining where they reside, they're in a slightly different dimension And it's a dimension where they can see people who can sense and feel them. So from where they are, they know whether you can help them or assist them, and they'll often be attracted to you. So for some reason, you've got some freaking glow around you, or whatever. I haven't worked out exactly what it is or why, but they know that they can sense. It's a dimension where it's not particularly ideal for them to be in. They can't get a lot of energy from there. They can get some energy, but you'll often notice that lights will flicker. You know, on paranormal TV programs, people's batteries will go flat because that spirit actually utilizes electricity. We're made of electricity. Energy is electricity, and they utilize electricity to power them in a source. They'll also use a little bit of electricity off of us as well sometimes. So you can feel a little bit tired sometimes. Yeah. So I guess I can keep rambling. I've got lots of information here.
Oh, that's fine.
But feel free to ask a question.
Yeah, I did have a couple of questions. So
Sure.
you say it's mainly just ghosts that you see? So would that be like mainly souls who have transitioned, that maybe they're earthbound for some reason and they aren't wanting to or what is it exactly?
Yeah. So I see all sorts of things. So I'll see people that are fully crossed over, and then I'll see people, as you call, earthbound. So the reason, and yes, I'll see the whole spectrum and a lot of other things as well. But the earthbound ghosts are here usually because they haven't been able to quite lift their vibration high enough when they've passed to transit, to move across to the other side. And that can be for a number of reasons. Sometimes it can be because they're too attached to their houses, or attached to a human being, or they died in a death that was really sudden, and all of a sudden they don't know where they are and what's going on, and they're confused. A lot of them that I've come across don't want to pass because they're scared they're going to go to hell. So that's a real common one. I've had grown men in ghost form, I mean women too, but men, bawling their eyes out because they're afraid they're going to go to hell, because they know that they've done something wrong. They've done a few wrong things in their life, like, who hasn't, right? And they know that, and they're really terrified. So what I can do and what I do is sit down with them and communicate with them, because I can do that. I'll talk to them. So I'll sit down and say, hey, what's going on? And one particular guy I remember, from another country actually, he was terrified to go, just as I was explaining. And he just wouldn't go. He was so scared of hell. It was very much part of his religion and his culture. And when this happens, what you normally do is you pray, because I'm jumping ahead a little bit. What you normally do is you ask for a light to open up, and for that soul to be assisted with your guides, and even their ancestors can meet them at the gate and they will transit over to the other side. But this particular person didn't want to go, and there have been a few. And I says to him, what is it that you love doing in your life? And he goes, I used to plow fields. And I says, oh, okay. See over there through that window, there's a whole lot of fields there. And he turned around, and through the opening to the next world, they had imprinted a whole lot of fields. I says, look, they need to be hoed, And he went, right, I'm onto it. And he just gone. So this is how sometimes it can work if people don't want to cross over. Some gladly cross over because they're so confused. And I can give you some examples because I think first-hand examples are really, really interesting. I had two girls phone me up one night really late, and they were sitting in a car saying, help, we've got a ghost here and we don't know what to do. And I know the guy, and I've got his ashes, and he wanted them to be scattered in Australia, which is a country near to New Zealand. I haven't made it to Australia. I've got his ashes. And they didn't tell me at the time what sort of person he was. He was a dude who had lived pretty rough gangster life, very hard-headed, wouldn't listen to them, won't listen to anyone. They didn't give me any warning. So I tuned into this guy and I was like, how are you doing? And he was like, nah, not going to talk to you. Not interested. And I was like, okay, cool. I says, guys, he doesn't want to talk to me. He's not interested. And so I says, tell me, what did he want to do in life? And they said he wanted to go to Australia and he wanted to go to the moon. I was like, okay. So we talked for a while, and then what happened was, it was like some kind of crazy synchronicity. The moon come up as we were talking, and they were sitting in the car. The moon come up, and I says to the guy, hey, I heard you want to go to the moon. And then all of a sudden I felt these eyes turn and look at me. I thought, got his attention. And then he said, and then I was like, I said, you want to go to the moon? I said, look over there. I says, what do you want to be sitting in the back of the car with these two girls for? You know, you've got your chance to go to the moon, dude. You know, like, there it is, go to the moon. And I was thinking, I at that stage in my mind, I was talking to guardians and people who can help cross over, his ancestors. Please help sending this guy to the moon. Please let this moon be the doorway to the other side. When he leaves the car, let him transit, let this be the transition. And so this guy and I says to him, hey, the other thing is they're having a big party in the moon. Because I knew his culture, they love partying. So I said, they're having a big party in the moon. And he was like, whoa, he was right, I'm off. I'm fucking off. I've had enough. Sorry for swearing. I've had enough of hanging out with these two chicks. I'm gone. Well, I've always wanted to go to the moon, you know. So he just shot off. And the girls were like, oh, we can feel he's gone. And he just went straight up to the moon. And I sat there, I thought, oh my God, I've just sent a spirit, you know, a person to the moon. Oh no, you know, like I hope that's okay, you know, hell, he's in the moon. So what I did is I extended myself up to the moon. I went right up there. It sounds crazy, but this is how it works. And I put my ear up into the moon, and I just heard this beautiful big party going on. And it was the traditional music of these people. And he was with his people, and he was having the time of his life. And so, yeah, that to me was really cool in a way that, that you can approach it if people don't want to cross over easily.
That's fascinating. I had another question real quick. When you communicate with them, you use your voice, you talk to them like verbally?
I sometimes, but mostly I talk to them in my mind. So it's like a telepathic kind of situation.
Yeah.
The same, yeah. So the same when I'm doing my readings with people that have passed over, I'll often talk for the benefit of the client, but they're actually communicating to me non-verbally. So they put words in my mind and I do the opposite.
So when you do this, is it do you use that like the part of your mind where you think words, or do you just use images? And you know what I'm saying? I'm
Oh,
trying to figure out how
nice.
to explain it.
Oh, yeah, nice. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I had probably not explained it so clearly because I jumped right in there. So people communicate in many different ways. So I myself will communicate with words and images, as you have said. So what they do is they will talk to you in images, and they will drop an image into your mind. So it's very much connected to the imagination. So you'll find that a lot of artistic people who have a very developed imagination will often receive pictures easily, artists, downloads, things like that. And then the other way that I'll work is through feelings. So I'll be able to feel what they are feeling. So they're probably the three modalities. And then there's intuition as well, which is gut feeling, which you just somehow know how to navigate something called what action to take.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's
Well, you can continue sharing as many experiences
okay.
as you want.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to tell you something really weird here, because it's a little unusual, but it's not unheard of. Because I have heard of people here in New Zealand doing it. I'm sure all over the world it happens. But one time, at one stage, I had ghosts actually attaching to me. And that's kind of quite a scary concept, right? Who wants a ghost attached to them? Yay. But I stayed calm because at that point I had realized the compassion of the situation, and that they were clinging to me. They weren't trying to harm me. They were like, help. And they were clinging to me. And I had an old lady. I was in a state of confusion. I got lost on a bushwalk, and I was in training. We trained in the bush. I don't know if you call it bush, maybe you call it forest, or and all of a sudden my whole arm went really stone cold, and people had been excavating an area, and there had been an old lady who had been from the past, who was a ghost, who had somehow fallen asleep. She'd gone a bit dormant, and people had been slashing away and clearing an area. And this can happen. You can wake them up sometimes. And she woke up and was really confused, and I was confused. So sometimes the law of attraction, as you say, Rich, like attracts like. And it's the same in the ghost world as well. So she saw my confusion, and she was confused, and she attached to my arm. And it was really cold. And I went back to class, which was like a circle. And I said to my teacher, I think something's wrong. I'm all cold, and the whole world seems wonky, and nothing seems right. Like I'm discombobulated. She says, come into class and we'll sort it. So I went into class. We sat in our circle, and I said, I've got this feeling, and I explained everything. And she says, okay, what are you going to do, Charmaine? And I was like, oh, hell, what am I going to do? Yeah. So I could communicate to the woman. I knew she was confused and she needed to be sent on, but she didn't have a lot of strength. She didn't know what to do. So what I actually did is, with my energy in my body, is I actually used my energy and pushed her through my system. So for those of you who've studied the energy systems in the body, or we know we've just got energy in our body, I used my energy to push this lady kindly. I told her what was going on, but I pushed her right out the bottom of my body. And it was like a reverse birthing process, which sounds really weird. She went through my system, and I pushed her into the other world through my body. So then she went down. Yeah. And my teacher said, so where did she go, Charmaine? Because most people think up. And I said, no, she actually went down into the earth. And then I saw her go down, and then she went up. So yeah, that's kind of an unusual way to send a ghost to the other side. But I have heard of other people doing it as well who have systems that can handle doing that. I think one of the things I wanted to touch on really is, and I think the Beatles got it right, is when sending ghosts over to the other side, the most important thing is love. And people might think, oh, that sounds cheesy or new agey, but it is so pivotal. It is so pivotal. And the story that I'm going to tell you now is really, really strongly about that. And it was about a woman who had died, obviously, and she was stuck. She was a large-sized Maori woman, which is our Indigenous people here in New Zealand. And she had bare feet. I can just see her so clearly. I'm just giving you an image. And I says, okay, so you know you're stuck, because sometimes ghosts don't know they've died. Says, you know you died. You're stuck sort of halfway in between. It's not ideal. Like if you go over to that other side, you'll meet all your family and your loved ones, and you'll be able to move on with your journey, you know, and you'll be able to come back and visit your loved ones, and it's the better place to be. You know, I'm in dialogue with them, and I'm talking to them, and you know, just it's like ghost counseling. Like you really want to go over there. It's a much better place. And she was like, no. And I was like, well, what's wrong? She goes, I don't trust my family. So in life, they had betrayed her, and she didn't trust anyone. It was really sad. It was a woman who trusted no person. And I says to her, I thought, oh, gee, we've got a real doozy here, because she's not going to be trusting me. So I was like, come on, Charmaine, get the brain going, get the brain going. And I says to her, okay, what is it in your life that you loved and you trusted? And I'm not trying not to cry here, because I could. She said to me, I trusted my rabbit. I trusted my rabbit. And I said, okay. So then I said, please, can you bring this woman's rabbit to the doorway? Because the doorway was open for her to go through. Can you please bring this rabbit to the doorway? The rabbit this woman loved and trusted. And then this rabbit came to the doorway, and this woman was, I mean, she was stuck to the ground. She wasn't going anywhere, you know. She took one look at the rabbit, and her whole face changed, and she just ran towards that rabbit, gone to the other side. So yeah, it's about finding things that people love, for me, for the work that I do, and lifting their vibration, because love is a high vibration. When we have feelings of love, it's a huge high vibration. And those people are stuck because often their vibration hasn't quite got high enough, as I said before. So it's really interesting, because there's lots of cultures and people who, when people die, they will sing. Or if there's been a murder or something terrible that's happened, say in India, for example, they'll set out a whole lot of candles, light incense, in honor of what has happened, and to clear the area. And that can help people move on. And here in New Zealand with Māori, we'll sing. And that singing can lift the vibration and just send the person on. Even being a really happy, loving person, if you go into a home or in anywhere in life, a ghost can sense you, can sometimes feel you, and they feel happy. They can just be sent on by you, your vibration, by you being the very person who you are, can make them feel happy and raise their vibration, and then off they go. So that can happen too. Yeah.
Would
Yeah.
you feel like
And
this is your life purpose?
one of them. I feel like it's a passion, and it's not one that I have chosen. I mean, who the hell chooses to send ghosts to be a ghost worker? I mean, for goodness sakes, like, you know, I mean, some people might, but how many people are born in this world going, hey, I want to work with ghosts, you know, this is going to be really fun. Bring on the hauntings, you know.
Well,
Like,
I've heard lots of different stories and experiences and stuff, and I don't think I've ever talked to anybody who helps earthbound souls cross over to the other side. That's fascinating, I think.
oh, okay, Rich. Yeah, yeah, okay, cool. Yeah. I suppose in the circles that I move in, there is quite a few people who do that.
Mm.
So I'm kind of used to it. Yeah, but I think some people, it is their calling, and even in our group of maybe, or however many was in the circle at the time, it would be the ghosts that came to me. And people would say, oh my God, I'm so scared of ghosts. If a ghost comes along, I'm sending it to Charmaine. I'm just telling it to go to Charmaine. I'm like, yeah, thanks for that. Yeah, I'm going to have a good night's sleep. Thanks. You know, it's like, great. So it's like I actually had to pass through a real initiation of fear, because we're brought up in a society where we're afraid of ghosts, in my world, and children are very scared of ghosts, and usually, and I had to cross through this. It was in making actually a rattle. We were making a rattle, and my rattle was the scariest rattle that there was. I mean, the arm of it, the you know, stick of it looked like a person's bone. And I'm not in that sort of person. I'm not really into spiders, and I was going to say ghosts, spiders and crazy. You know, I'm not even like that, right? But I had the scariest rattle, and everyone looked at it and went, oh, that skin, it looks like, oh, it was terrible. It was stag skin. But you know, it was scary. And within looking at that rattle and having to accept that rattle, it triggered in me the fear of ghosts, and that I needed to overcome that fear in order to be able to help. Because really, what I'm expressing is that a lot of ghosts actually, well, not all of them, but a lot of them want help. They don't, yeah, necessarily like where they are either. Yeah.
I had a quick question.
So, yeah.
Is it possible for there to be like maybe an angry earthbound soul who could cause harm to somebody if they wanted to?
Oh, yes. So how I want to explain it to you is, you know how you have, say a street in the city or anywhere in the world, right? You've got a great mixture of people, and within those people, you've got people in all sorts of state of mind. So imagine if all of a sudden all those people on that street died. What you have in the ghost world is exactly the same as how those people are. So you're going to get mostly you're going to get really reasonable people. You might get a grumpy guy, you know, a happy lady, a child, and you might get a real bad guy. I don't mean to say guy, you know, you get a bad person, because they exist. Okay. So for example, and you did raise that, so I will raise this. My object here was to sort of calm people down about ghosts, but since you asked, I will tell you, there are some bad ghosts, and that's just because they were not people that were in a good state of mind. So, for example, you could have a serial killer. If a serial killer dies, they're not going to be such a fun ghost to deal with, right? If you've got a strong sense of protection around you, they can't harm you. We do actually have that auric field. We've got a field of energy around us. So we do have protection. We are protected from the invisible world. They can't harm us. We're mostly protected. But if you get a strong one, this is when you need extra help. So you'll need to phone somebody who really knows their stuff and get that help. And that help is out there. You'll be led to the right place. I have actually probably to give you a good idea, in sending over about, say, 45 spirits to the other side, I've encountered one real baddie. Do you want me to tell you about that baddie?
Absolutely.
Okay. So I didn't know he was so bad. It was a male. And a friend rang me up and said, I need some help. And she had been doing some land clearing, which is energy work on the land to clear it in her back garden. So it has a good feeling, a good vibration. She did my sort of work and she had picked up there was something not quite right. And so she was doing this clearing, but she came across something really not good. And so she rang me for backup. And I was just sitting there on the couch watching TV, minding my own business. And then I was like, okay, I was talking to her. And then the next minute I felt this feeling on my leg. And I was like, ooh, this is not good. They always jump onto you in the place where you're the most vulnerable. I don't know why my leg is vulnerable, but it is. And so I was like, ooh, okay. So then what happened is this being was really angry. So he did not like what was going on and he was trying to push into my energy system. And I was fighting him out. No, get out. You have to be very, very strong and very, very strict, as you would if someone was going to come and punch you in the head in the pub. We call them pub here, like waterhole drinking establishment. So if someone's going to come and punch you in the head, you can say, back out, dude. This isn't going to happen. Sorry, not on this watch. So you have to be quite strong in your convictions. So I was like, no, out you go. And he was nasty. He was messing with me. It was horrible. Messing with me, meaning with my mind. He was putting really scary images in front of me. I was not scared. You never, ever be scared. Never, ever, 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 ever be scared. Always stand your ground. Always stand your ground. Even if you're scared, stand your ground. So I was like, I need help. So I rang my teacher at the time who was taking a class out in nature in the bush, managed to get through to her. She was like, Charmaine, what are you dealing with here? I said, fuck, I don't know, and she managed to remove this entity, this man from me. And then I was like, oh, thank goodness, and then put down the phone. 5 minutes later, boof, he jumped back on again. And that's very, very unusual, very unusual. So I was like, oh, so I rang her back. She says, it's never happened. I've never seen one come back again. And I was like, damn. And then we got him off together. And she says, go and get some water and sprinkle the water on the ground where he's gone. So you sprinkle water on the ground. It's a very cleansing element. And then what happened, I said, thank you and goodbye and everything. And then I was just on my bed, laying there going far out. This was probably over a period of a number of days. So I was exhausted because I had fought with this entity over days not to actually try it. He wanted to mess me up and get inside of my body, really, to put it. I don't want to scare people. This is really unusual, and only if you were doing really serious ghost work. If you were a normal person walking along a street, this guy's not going to bother you. He was bothering me because he knew that I could move him on, and he knew what work I did, and he didn't want any bar of it. And I'll explain to you why. What happened was I lay down on the bed, and then all of a sudden I saw this ghost come into my room, and I said, oh, please open the doorway. Please have, I did my prayer to open the doorway to the other side. And so then the spirit just traveled through, and then another one come, and then another one come, and then another one come. And there was this great big line of souls, of ghosts, that just all filed through and went to the light. And what had happened was this man, and this happens, this man was holding them captive in the ghost realm, in that dimension that ghosts exists in, and bullying them. So he was, so some ghosts bully each other. He was holding them captive, and he had power over these people that had passed. I don't know the story of how they died or whether they knew each other. I don't know. But I knew this was one particular powerful entity who wanted control over these other people. So he didn't want me sending him over, and he fought hard for it and lost. so yeah, but that was really, really hard work, and it's not something that I something banging at my door. That's really strange. But that's not something that I come across. Yeah, it's very, very rare. Very, very rare.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, you could call it that.
It is to me, because like I said, I've never really heard of anything like that before. I've talked to lots of people. These kind of things to me aren't weird. People say, oh, I know it sounds weird. No, to me, these types of conversations are the only ones that really make sense. But I mean, I've just never met somebody who actually who's connected. I don't know if you caught it, but I uploaded a video where I shared my actual near-death experience. And that's where I found myself, because it was a suicide attempt. So I was in such a low vibration that I'm pretty sure that's where I was just right over in what some people call like the lower astral realm. And I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't have a big profound memory of it, but I do know that over there is very like blah. It's I don't really know words to describe what it's like over there. There was no thought, there was no emotion. It's just very one-dimensional and blah, so I could imagine how maybe some of them could possibly get frustrated over there.
Yeah, exactly. So that for me is like, it's not the ideal place to be. You can exist, but it is blah, and it's sort of like an in-between point. And so I always take it from the point of view, the work that I feel passionate about is the people that are in that place. If it was my brother or my auntie or my family, then they deserve the respect as a human being to be assisted if you come across them and you help them and you have the ability to do it. I mean, not everyone, this is not going to be everyone's thing, but if this is your calling and what you do, I'm going to help them because they're a human being. They just don't have a body. And I give great respect to that. Yeah, so I love that you can help people. People do suicide, it happens. People get into dark places. Doesn't mean to say you are going to be stuck as a ghost either. You could very well move on. There's no set rules always to it. It's very hard to judge. You don't think anyone who has someone who has suicide is actually going to be a ghost, because it's not actually true. But it could happen. I have worked with people who have come to me who have suicided, and have just wanted to say sorry to their family. So they have managed to pass through, and they've come back, and they couldn't quite leave because they felt really shameful that they had put their family through what they had put through. So they weren't quite rested enough until they got that message through to their loved ones. I'm really sorry for what I did. I didn't mean to hurt you. And then that was what was needed to be conveyed. And then there's tears. It's always tears. I have tissues all the time. I mean, it's a part of the whole process, because it is quite an emotional one. And I mean, I try not to cry, but I mean, I feel their feelings. But often my clients are bawling their eyes out, and everyone's crying. But there's a great healing that comes out of it. Yeah, so that's really interesting, your near-death experience.
Yeah.
I didn't actually tune in on that, but I saw it, so I'm definitely going to watch that one, and I think I'll find it really, really interesting. Yeah.
Did you have any other experiences that you wanted to share?
Wow, God, I do. I had one about I was driving home one day from work, and there was a serious car crash. And this is an example of someone who gets a little bit stuck and doesn't know where they are because of a sudden, violent kind of death. So this woman died in a car crash, and I was held up in a big traffic jam on the way home. And so we took ages to get home. Got home. I didn't know this woman had followed me home. She had actually, from the car crash site, she had seen me, followed me home in my car. And I wasn't aware of it at the time until I must have been busy in the mind, and I didn't pick it up until I went to go to bed. And I lay down in bed, and then all of a sudden I went, there's a woman in my bathroom. Fuck, there's a woman in my bathroom. I saw it in my mind's eye, and I just knew she was there. And I said to my partner at the time, he was used to my weird ways, thank goodness. I said to my partner, there's a lady in the bathroom. And he was like, oh, okay. But I was too tired to do anything. My energies were exhausted. So there is a really very strong knowledge that if you are too tired to deal with the ghost, you have every right to say, just hold fire, I got you, and I'm going to go to sleep because I need to right now, and I'm going to come back and help you. And in that dimension, time works slightly different anyway. It works different to our dimension. So I got up, I went to work the next day, came home, sitting on my chair, minding my own business. Semi had forgot about it, actually. And then there was just this noises happening all over my house, rustle, rustle, rustle. She must have been a strong woman, because it's quite hard to make noise when you first cross over. And I went, that's right, the lady. So by that time, it was on our local news. We call it Stuff. I think you had Stuff too, eh? Just, online, it was on an article, and I thought, what could I do? And so I says to this lady, she was really confused. I tuned into her, and she said to me, where's my family? Where's my family? And I felt such a lovely lady. I says, God, this lady's lovely. And she had the respect to be in my bathroom. She could have come into my bedroom. She could have sat in my lounge. She was in my bathroom, like waiting. And because she had the respect not to encroach on me too much. And I just felt this person was a really kind person. She was, where's my family? Where's my family? I don't know what's happened. I'm lost. What's going on? What's going on? I says, okay, let me explain to you what has happened. You actually have died. Okay, so you have died. And so I give them a little bit of time to just process that, as you would need to, because that's quite a big thing. I says, okay, I'm going to read out a little article to you about what happened. So I actually read her the newspaper article of what happened. I said, so and so, her name, died in a car crash on the way home from blah, 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 da, 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 da. And so she then understood she had been in a car crash. She didn't, don't think she even knew she had been in a car crash. So I needed to explain it to her because it happens so quickly. Some people actually jump out of their bodies before a traumatic event actually happens, so that they don't feel the full impact, because some people choose to come back. And so, yeah, some just jump out of their bodies before it happens. Their soul knows and they boom. And she had jumped out. So I had explained to her what had happened. And she was like, how do I see my family? How do I see my family? And I said to her, look, to my knowledge, the best not of my knowledge and from what I know, from what I do, is that if I send you over to the light and I open up the light and you go through, you'll go on your way, you'll meet your past loved ones, you'll do learnings, and you'll be able to come back and visit your family. You'll be able to see them from there, help them and guide them if that's what you want to do and what you choose to do. She was like, yup, that's what I want to do because I can't see them here. I'm stuck. I can't see them. And I says, okay, let's do this thing. Let's rock and roll. So anyway, well, I didn't say that. But I did my prayer, opened up the portal. I said, see that light over there? Go over that way. And she was like, okay, I'm off, because she was really wanting to see her family. And she went off. And later on, I'd found out that she was a woman who had fostered so many children and she looked after so many people, and she was such a beautiful person. And I was just like, wow, that was just, yeah, you have experiences like that. It brings real meaning as well. Like it has a lot of meaning. You feel a lot. It's nice. Yeah. So there's been a lot that has happened, and yeah, there are many, many stories. I sent a bag lady over once. Bag lady is probably an unkind term, but a homeless woman. I sent a homeless woman over, and when the portal opened for her to go through to the other side, it wasn't a bright white light. And I tell you, I freaked out. I was like, no, wait. I'm not sending you there. It's not a bright white light. Like, you can't go there. And at the time, my teacher said to me, no, Charmaine, let her go. Let her go. And I was like, oh, okay. So she went through to sort of this golden yellow light, a little bit like, I've got lots of notes here, but a little bit like this, but golden colored. And my teacher explained to me, Charmaine, she couldn't have handled the bright white light because it would have been too much for her system. Because the brighter the light, the more our shadows show up inside of ourselves. So, because when the sun is at its brightest, you can see the shadows the clearest, right? And it's the same with us. If the light is so white, then the shadows, it's too painful sometimes for someone who has had a really hard life. They've got a lot of stuff to deal with. Might not be their fault, it's just where they're at. And so she went happily through into this golden light because she could handle it, and she would have been looked after and taken care of at the level that she could be taken care of at, gently,
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
I'm
I
sure
actually
that,
met, yeah.
I was going to say, I'm sure that once I upload this, there's probably going to be people that want to reach out to you with questions. Would you be open to that?
Yeah, sure. They can.
What's the
Yeah,
easiest way to get a
absolutely.
hold of you?
So the easiest way to get hold of me is Charmaine Torrington, psychic medium. I think I emailed you the link, but we can arrange to put it somewhere. But yeah, Charmaine Torrington, psychic medium. I have a face on Facebook, so you can message me there if you have any questions. That's no problem. Yeah, so that's every now and again I do lives, I do free readings for the public, and I'm doing more talks on energy, and I've done a lot of ghost videos. If you go in there and click on the videos, you can watch them as well if you're interested. But yeah,
okay,
other forms of energy.
I'll link all that in the description of the
Cool.
video.
Cool.
I'm running a little bit low on time here. Before I wrap this up, do you have a positive message you would like to share with the viewers?
Just that don't be afraid of ghosts. Just have some compassion, and if there is one that is stuck, you know, find help for it, and yeah, and don't hang on to them. That's one thing. There's something with codependency. Some people hold on to their ghosts out of need. We hang on to humans, and some people hold on to their ghosts through loneliness as well. So deal with your own loneliness and let the ghosts go. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for joining me and sharing those very interesting experiences. I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. I wish you the best, and you have a good day.
You too. See you later. Bye.
Have a good one.